I was the first musician.
Oh my.
That's in the history of that church.
Oh wow. So you was there before Marion Gaines, huh?
I was there before any of them.
Oh wow. No, I did not
Yeah.
know that. So did you play for the the Hayes Special?
No, I was just a church musician. I was walking up Cottage Grove, and I saw this new church open, and I went in there, and I met Dr. Hayes and his assistant pastor. He was a
Oh,
light-skinned
you talking about
man.
Pastor
I forget.
Payne, Napoleon Payne?
It could have been. He was light-skinned.
Yeah,
Do you know
Napoleon
what he looked
Payne.
like?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I met him, and I told him who I was, and that I can play the piano. I couldn't play him in what key, but I didn't tell him that. and 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 he just took a liking to me, and he hired me. And then I started playing for Bishop uh, Redeeming Church of Christ,
Anderson.
Bishop Anderson. I played for him and Father Hayes and my own church because they had different service times, and I would go from church to church.
Oh wow.
That's right.
So what was your home church?
Yeah. My father's church, Prayer Temple, Church of God in Christ.
Prayer Temple. Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. So your father's name was, I guess, I will take it was
It was
Bishop.
it was a little storefront church.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow. So you were raised Kojic?
Born and bred, Church of God in Christ.
Now, was there who was the musicians at your dad's church?
I was.
Oh, okay.
Well, my brother was. He was the main musician, and whenever he didn't show up or whatever, I was very. That's why I was able to play for Father Hayes because my brother was our main musician.
Oh wow. And I just want to. So where was your father's church located? Like, what was the address?
3515 South Vincennes.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. And then so that building there where you was playing with Father Hayes, that wasn't Langley, was it? That was before they went to Langley.
No, that was before Langley.
Okay.
This when he first started.
Okay.
When he first opened up, I was the first musician.
Right. So that was the post office, but they was in a telephone building before. I think and then they started in the basement of that family house. I can't think, and then they moved to that. I think it was an old telephone building. And then they moved to the post office. But that's amazing. No, I never knew that. I knew about Ricky Ellis and Marianne Gaines and Winston and those fellas there and Charles Clancy. But what gets me is I mean, away from your music, is the way you articulate, like the knowledge that you teach, like unintentionally sometimes, over the pulpit has always been a pillar of inspiration to me because I've always looked at you and just like, how can someone be that sophisticated? How could someone have this much knowledge? And it's always been a mesmerizing to me, just how you just are so educated. And I just think that that's awesome.
And would you believe that I never graduated from any formal schooling? They never let me graduate from grammar school. I got kicked out of Doolittle. I had to go to Douglas. Got kicked out of Douglas. Had to move. Dr. Benjamin Willis was the superintendent of schools. And he told my father the only reason why he won't send me to St. Charles, Illinois, you don't know anything about St. Charles. But if you Google St. Charles, Illinois, you will know that that's where he sent the bad boys. The bad boys school was in St. Charles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Benjamin Willis told my father that if you weren't a pastor, I would send him to St. Charles, but he cannot stay in your house because that's my district. He said, and they would pressure me if I didn't send him to St. Charles. So he said, do you have any relatives? My father said, yeah, we have people on the west side. So that's how I had to move and go live with my uncle. Then I moved with my cousin. And I went to Gregory on the west side, and they kicked me out of Gregory because the gangs jumped on me and wanted me to join the gang, and they initiated me. And the principal of Gregory told my parents that they saw leadership in me, and they wanted me to be in their gang, and because of that, they didn't want me at Gregory. So I had to leave Gregory. But by that time, I was in the 8th grade, and they said the only way I could graduate is that I would have to go to summer school at Wendell Phillips. I went to Wendell Phillips Summer School, and that's how I got my graduation from grammar school. But I did not graduate with a regular class. And then I started going to Wendell Phillips. And that didn't work out. And once I got 16 years old, they told me that the only way I could stay at Wendell Phillips, that I would have to go to night. So they kicked me out of Wendell School. And the last thing that lady was the deciding factor told me as she shook, I'll never forget, I was on my way to the door. And they told me that I was dismissed. And she said, wait one minute, T.L. Barrett. And I turned around and she said, come back here. And I thought maybe she had given me a reprieve. And I was all ready to promise to be good. And then she said, I just want to tell you, as she shook her well-manicured red-tipped fingernail in my face and said, you, T.L. Barrett, will never, ever amount to anything.
Wow.
That's what, and I just, that opinion come not back. But God, as I walked to my sister, from the Wendell Phillips is at 39th and Giles. We lived at 35th and Vincennes in the projects. But my mother and father weren't home. And this was like 12 o'clock in the day when they put me out. And my sister lived at 57th in Indiana. And I knew I could go to her house. So I walked over from 39th and Giles to 39th in Indiana. And I walked from 39th in Indiana to 57th in Indiana. And I made a deal with God. I promised God that I would keep my body clean. And I would determine to make my mind keen. If he could use me in an unusual way. So I don't want to be used in the U.S. I want you to use me in an unusual way. And I promise, no drugs in this body. I will keep my body clean. And since they kicked me out of school, I will educate myself and keep my mind keen, make my mind keen. Clean body, keen mind. And in order to get to 57th in Indiana, I had to walk across 55th in Indiana. I built a $2 million church at 55th in Indiana. My name is on the street post from 55th and Lafayette to 55th in Indiana. The city council named that stretch T.L. Barrett Boulevard. I went on the air and became very very well known.
Mm-hmm.
And the principals, some principals heard me speak and invited me to be their speaker each year at the superintendent, the principal's luncheon.
Wow.
So one year while I was speaking, I told my story of being kicked out of Wendell Phillips High School. And I told them about that lady who shook her finger in my face and told me I would never amount to anything. And I told them that if they saw her, tell her that I have a seat for her in my church that I built. And I have a room, a guest room for her in my home in South Shore. When I finished speaking, Principal Caldwell stood up and said, I am the current principal of Wendell Phillips High School. He said, I make a motion that we petition the Board of Education to award a bona fide high school diploma to T.L. Barrett from Wendell Phillips High School.
Oh, wow.
Yes, sir. They had a special ceremony. And then the Hall of Fame committee contacted me because I adopted Wendell Phillips and DuSable High School with my life enrichment program, and I gave a brand new car to the valedictorians of those classes that went on for about 4 years. The Hall of Fame committee voted me inducted me into the Hall of Fame of Wendell Phillips High School. My picture is on the wall in the lobby at Wendell Phillips High School, along with John H. Johnson, Lionel Hampton, and several other people who went on to become famous. But I'm the only one that does not have an exit date. Everybody else graduated from Wendell Phillips High School. But I didn't graduate. They didn't let me graduate. They put me out of there. Those are just some of the highlights of my ministry.
Do you remember what year that was that they gave you that proclamation?
No, but I know that had to be around 82, 83.
Okay. So I'm a little cloudy. Okay, so when you went over to Garfield, your church was located somewhere else, right? Before that.
55th and Lafayette.
Lafayette, okay.
The city council gave me the stretch from Lafayette to Indiana. Because I was called to a Baptist church at 5512 South Lafayette.
Okay.
And I built the church from there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's how we got to 50 in Indiana.
Okay. So how did the music aspect, how did you infuse that in all this that was going on?
Because I was a songwriter and a musician, and I used those gifts to attract young people. Every Tuesday night, I would have youth meetings called the Youth for Christ. And I wrote songs for them, and people all around the country started hearing about the Youth for Christ. And one time when Donny Hathaway was in town, he had heard about us, and he came over on a Tuesday night and spent some time with us. And he was very impressed. Next thing I know, Philip Bailey and Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of the members of Earth, Wind, and Fire showed up at our Tuesday night meeting. Philip Bailey, Andrew Warford, and Larry Dunn. Larry Dunn was the drummer. Andrew Warford was the part of the horn section. The three of them came to that meeting, and their lives were changed forever.
Mm.
Andrew and Larry put their cigarettes on our altar and said they would never smoke again. Philip Bailey acknowledged his call to ministry that night, and they made me the spiritual counselor to Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Mm.
When we had the young people from the project come over to our house for summer camp,
Mm-hmm.
when Philip and them came, they came over to our house. Now this is Earth, Wind, and Fire. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're over at our house with these young people from Robert Taylor Home, and we have pictures to prove it.
Wow.
When Maurice White's mother died,
Mm-hmm.
because she was a listener to my ministry on radio, she's the one who told them about me.
Mm.
They had me to come to Rockefeller Chapel and preach her eulogy.
Mm.
When Philip Bailey's mother died, they flew me to Denver, Colorado. The family wanted Fred Price from California. You know, he was an internationally known TV preacher.
Right.
But Philip and Earth, Wind, and Fire said, no, we want P.L. Barrett. And they flew me to Denver to do his mother's funeral.
Mm.
Maurice White, when he heard some of my music, and I said some horns would go good right here, he gave me the Earth, Wind, and Fire horn section.
Wow.
To record on that album. If you look at some of our albums, you will see, especially the song called Shine On Me,
Mm-hmm.
that's Earth, Wind, and Fire horn section.
So what? So is Like a Ship Without a Sail? Is that the first recording that you did? Because
that was the first album we did.
Okay, and that was the choir that you're referring to, the Youth for Christ.
That's the Youth for Christ choir.
Okay. And
Maurice White went to the studio with me and helped me mix some of those albums.
Mm.
That's how tight we were.
Mm.
Whenever Earth, Wind, and Fire traveled, they would call me while I was on the air, because I had a program on the air that came on at 4 o'clock in the morning. They would call me from Norway, from Sweden, and from Germany, and talk to the people on the air.
Mm.
Right to this day, if Philip Bailey comes in town, I get tickets to the Earth, Wind, and Fire concert.
My God, which is rightfully. My God. So let me ask you this question. So so that makes sense now. So Mount Zion Records, that's a label that you just formed to release that first album on?
Yeah, it was called Mzua.
Okay.
Mount Zion, Mount MT,
Mount God.
Universal Awareness.
Mm-hmm. Could I see Mount Zion Gospel Productions?
Yes.
Okay. And now, was that recorded live or that was in the studio, you said?
That was studio work.
Okay. Wow. So at this time, so this was released in 1971. Now you were still at Lafayette.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, so in 1973, when you did I Found the Answer, now what's the story that kind of lead up to that record deal with Gospel Truth?
yeah. But by that time, Stax Records had heard of me, and they heard my music, and they sent for me to come to Memphis, and that's when I made a deal to record for Gospel Truth.
Mm.
That's the
Right. Mm-hmm. Wow. So let me
and
let me ask you this question. So the previous album and the one on Gospel Truth, because Rance Allen was on Gospel Truth, Henry Jackson Company was on. It was a very few individuals because they created, I guess, Gospel Truth to do gospel music away from, as a
right.
subsidiary for Stax. So who was the musicians that you all utilized on that first and that Gospel Truth album?
Jerry Riley was on the organ. Larry Ball, who went on to become, and is still today, Smokey Robinson, musical director.
Mm-hmm.
He was in charge of our band.
Mm-hmm.
He played bass,
Mm-hmm.
and his brother Louis Ball was on piano, and I
Mm.
wasn't.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So do
And y'all,
Gene Walker, do that sound familiar?
who?
Gene Walker.
Not really.
Was he
Gene
a
Barge was part of our production.
oh Gene Waller, should I say? He played the cornet. That's probably a misprint then. That's probably Gene
Okay,
Bodge.
I'm calling for me to tune into their Zoom meeting
Okay, okay.
because you can call me back Monday. We can take all the time you need.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And I want to tell you this before you get off the phone. Thank you so much for your service from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate you. All your ministry.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I look forward to
That's
talking
right.
to you Monday. Okay.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye. Okay.
Bye-bye.
So the Coffee Table Magazine is my contribution to the world. It's a celebratory publication where we not only celebrate gospel music, but we embrace and salute the contributors of the genre.